there, and welcome to another episode of the Grad Connect, where we're using our career insights to help professionals find their way. My name is Ade Ronke, and thank you for tuning in today. If you are near a phone, near a computer, have a TV, not living under a rock, you've been hearing lately a lot of the words like tech and startup. And if you are thinking, this seems like the next cool thing to do, this seems like something I want to pivot into, it may be. But everything has its ups and downs. And today, our guest is here to share their journey into becoming a startup founder. In addition to being a founder, he's a realtor, a clothing designer, a speaker, an author, and an artist. And he has a lot more things on his plate, but I'll let him tell you about it. So please help me welcome Daniel Easterly. Yeah.
How you doing?
All right. Hi, Daniel. How are you doing?
I'm well.
That's
Excited to be here.
Yes. Thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here with you and Grad Connect and being able to share about what I'm doing and even the future. So yeah.
Of course. And so I first want to ask, how are you really doing? And is this like a busy season in tech world, startup world?
I'm doing well. In startup world, every day is a grind, right?
Okay.
So it's not just one day here being fine. I think when you learn that you run a business or even multiple businesses, every day your hair is on fire.
Okay.
Right? To a certain extent, right, where you're having to pivot 1,000 miles an hour to get from here to there, to even making sure you're taking care of yourself every day, knowing that you have 20 meetings scheduled.
And eating your meals, getting your
Right.
walks in, getting your water. Are you doing these things?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Ex-athlete too. So
Okay.
biggest thing is making sure I take care of myself. But there's times where, the business takes priority. Where, hey, I didn't work out today.
Yeah.
And I have to be.
Me neither, because of the business,
Yeah,
right?
So it's times where you have to decide on what's more important in the moment, but you can't sacrifice it completely.
Okay.
And I think that's what I've figured out too. So.
Okay, well, yeah, it seems like you very much have it under control, very balanced. I'm glad to know you're doing well. So first off, can you tell me, just give me, I want you to tell me how you define yourself, right? Because obviously you have a lot of different things you can do, a lot of different bags you can get into. How do you define yourself? If I was to say, hi, you are Daniel, and you?
I would define myself as a Renaissance man, if you will.
Okay.
And the reason being is also I'm from Detroit, right? And we're going through a tech renaissance also.
Okay.
To where I think a lot of my background ties into not only being an artist, but being a speaker, being a multifaceted person. I believe I'm left and right brained in the sense of how I conceptualize the world, right?
Yeah,
to where not just based on the title, but based on literally who I am.
Yeah.
I would call myself a Renaissance man, even based on the time period, right?
Wow.
It's like the type of person I am, I believe I was made purposely for this time period to do exactly what I'm doing.
Wow.
Is because I have the capacity to juggle all of those things, but also switch between left and right at a drop of a hat. And that's both a gift and a curse at times, if that makes sense.
It makes complete sense. And I feel like I'm right in the same boat with you. Tell me about your startup and give us an explanation of what it is, how you got into it, what led you here.
So my startup is the 40 Acres app, where we monetize vacant spaces,
Okay.
right? And that's the simplest form of what I can say, because it's actually really complex, right?
Yeah.
For most people who don't know the technology that goes into it, right?
Yeah,
But essentially we turn vacant spaces, old properties into income generating assets using emerging technologies like AI, blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, right?
Okay.
How I got into it, it's been about a 10-year journey, right?
Yeah.
I played football and different things, but when I went off to college, I actually fell in love with African American studies.
Okay.
Right, where I became obsessed with like W.E.B. Du Bois and how he understood that there was a digital divide, a wealth gap, a knowledge gap in the African American community. And with me falling in love with that aspect, I became obsessed with like, how do you close those things?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
To where fast forward 10 years, 12 years later, I started writing a book when I was in college in my notes section of my phone.
Okay.
And I just kept writing it,
Yeah.
re-editing
That's
it,
how
and
you
different
do
things
it.
like that. And I ended up releasing a book called A New Nation Inside of a Nation, The Age of Technology and the Black Dollar, that
Okay.
is based on those concepts from college.
Okay.
And that turned into this,
Yeah.
the 40 Acres app, right? Why? Is because my journey from college till now helped give me the confidence to even release that book. Why?
Wow.
Is because all things work together for the good, right?
Amen.
To where my background in cybersecurity added to the book, right?
Yeah.
My background in financial technology added to the book, right?
Yeah.
Then I became a realtor. It added to the book. Overlaying, right? I went to Cass. I'm a creative.
The one and only.
The one and only,
Cass
you know, Cass
Tech. Number one second. Okay.
Right. To
Yes.
where it added value in the fact that Miss McCormick, I was an actor, I'm an artist, right? Painter, all these different things, to where the concept of 40 Acres ties in all of those things into
Yeah.
one ecosystem.
Yeah.
And it just ties technology to it.
Okay.
Right. To where that's how I got into it. It became it came from idea and inception to a real life product that now I'm in a position to actually offer the world. And
Yeah.
both grateful for the experience. Why? Is because all of the things that I thought I wasn't supposed to be doing, because I was an athlete, right? I thought I was going to go to the NFL and play for years and all that stuff. But you find out over time that that's not always what God has for people, is what you think,
Yeah.
right? God has what he thinks in store, to where when you fight against your purpose, God will use everything you fought even for his good, if that makes sense,
It
right?
does.
To where I'm like, man, I'm in cybersecurity. I don't really want to do this, but I learned.
Yeah.
Right? I'm in fintech, and I love fintech, right? But I'm like, man, why am I doing this H1Z? I became really good at it, and it's like, dang, I didn't know in the moment while I was doing that, but now that I'm here, it's like all of those things give me such a unique perspective to produce what I've produced, if that makes sense.
It does. And Daniel, here's my thing is, you weren't like a low-key, could have been like, okay, football player. You were like when we were graduating, you were like obviously one of the top football players in our graduating class and went to college on scholarship, if I'm not mistaken. How did you deal with, okay, I'm not going to the NFL, and still finding a way to be fully fulfilled in what you're doing now? Because so many people, like when that initial dream is gone, I'm sure it was a childhood dream.
Yeah.
And when that's gone, it's like, who am I? You know? So what was that transition like, really committing to and embracing your identity as a founder now, and even just in the cybersecurity and tech world?
You know, when you have a dream of going to the NFL, it's one of those things where either you do or you don't, right? And a lot of people that were in my position, that's all they thought about. When I was in high school, it wasn't even all that I thought about. It was just something that I was really good at, right? I used to get in arguments with Coach Wilcher all the time because I wanted to act. And he would call my dad when he found out I was hanging with Miss McCormick, right?
Really?
No, you asked Miss McCormick. Miss McCormick would
Wow.
tell
I
you,
did
like,
not know that was happening.
yeah. It's just crazy because I wanted to do multiple things. But
That's terrible.
I think when I went off to college, football became a job too, right? To where it was another job, not just me having fun playing sports, right? But football ends for everybody. And I had a dad.
That's a good way to see it.
I had a dad that that always told me that I could be better than my circumstances, right? When I went off to college, I didn't pick my school just based off of football either, right? To where when I went off to college, I was actually supposed to major in journalism, right? To where that's what I was supposed to get my degree in, and even football made me change my curriculum, right? To where I ended up getting my undergrad in communications instead, right? To where.
And was it because of the classes and scheduling that you had to change your curriculum?
Yeah, because Mizzou was the #1 school in journalism in the country, right? To where I didn't just choose Mizzou because of their football team.
You had a plan.
I had a plan.
So you always had a plan B or a plan 1A.
I did. because you got to.
Okay.
You got
So
to.
from the outside, it looked like, okay, he wants to do just football. Like everybody around you were like, okay, this is gonna be our football star. But low key in the back, you had a little, okay,
A little
got
plan,
it.
yeah. But
Okay.
you got to think, my dad's a minister, my mom's a teacher. I had two older brothers that played football, and I just happened to do the best out of all of us in terms of just trajectory, right? But
Yeah.
I don't think I ever, especially once I realized that I had to accept that I wasn't going to the NFL, and once I actually accepted that thought, I already had a plan of, okay, what's my next step?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if I don't do anything else, I'm gonna act. If I don't do anything else, I'm gonna write a book. If I don't do anything else, I'm gonna start my own business. If I don't do anything else, I'm gonna at least go find me a job to where God took me on a journey, right? And I'll keep referencing God because genuinely that's what happened, right? It's like, what am I gonna do? I was in Arkansas, then I was in Dallas. Dang, I don't know what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm saying. Now I'm in Dallas. I'm in LA. You know, it's like,
everywhere.
it's God just took me. You know, and a lot of times when you give your purpose, right, and also risk finding your purpose, right? I think in college I pledged Capel, right, and one of my old fraternity brothers, he's passed away now. His name's Jonathan Hicks. He gave me a book called a purpose-driven life, right, to where I started really diagnosing that and being like, man, I wanted to live on purpose.
Yeah.
In every aspect of my life, to where I'm not going to let football be the end of me.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to be sitting here 20 years later trying to be an athletic trainer because I wanted to relive my football dreams. No, I don't do that's not me. To where I always had something in my heart that I wanted to do. And I think the journey from football, if I didn't have it, I wouldn't even be in the position that I'm in today, right? Because it gave me the discipline. It gave me certain aspects of who I am that I needed. But you also have to let go of who you were to accept the things that you took from those situations too, right? It's like, okay, I wasn't the NFL guy like everybody thought, but I learned about people. I learned about how to sell myself. I learned how to interact with thousands of people all at one time. I learned how to interact with other races, right? I went to Mizzou, which was a predominantly white school, for example, right? It's where I didn't know at Cass because I'm around all black people, right? So when I went off to Mizzou, I'm like, okay, this gives me an opportunity to be around a whole new set of people. I didn't know anybody from high school that was there. To where it gave me some valuable tools, right? To where the transition from football to the real world for me was actually easier because I accepted it before I was ever done playing football, right? Some people don't accept it until after it's over. And then when it's after it's over, it's harder to let go.
It's like they're transitioning.
I let it go before.
Okay. Wow. So now with everything that you did, right? Okay, the acting you dabbled in, obviously you've written books, you do music, right? You have your realtor bag. How do you it's a realtor bag. How do you prioritize and decide okay, this is the thing? Like how did 40 Acres become, it seems like your baby. How did this become like your favorite child of all the things that you're doing?
This became my favorite.
I mean, if it is, because that's what it looks like on the outside.
It is my favorite. And I've been working on it for years to where I knew it was going to be my favorite child. It was just about timing, right? It became my favorite because, and really you said, how did it become my favorite? But how do I decide?
Like how do you prioritize what you're going to give your energy to?
Right. And I decide on how to give my energy to things over time. Like I am a type of person that writes out all my plans at the beginning of the year. I talk to God in January, December, January-ish, and I always try to accomplish a goal by my birthday, right? To where I decide on priority, especially 40 Acres, because that's my biggest idea. I've always known. When I was writing my books, I'd known that was the biggest idea based on the technology, based on all the things that went into it, right? But everything else is just a part of me, right? So it was easy for me to do it. I just monetized it, if that makes sense. I'm a minister's kid. So when you think about the suit aspect, right? I wear suits because my dad wears suits, my granddad wears suits. Where I'm like, I'm gonna wear suits all the time. I look good in a suit. People will buy a suit if I wear it. Boom. monetize it.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Daniel, you paint. My brother was a artist. He used to paint all over cast, all those little graffitis that you see. That was my second oldest brother.
Okay.
All right, Daniel, monetize it.
Okay.
Right, videography. I used to make highlight tapes in high school.
Yeah.
To where I just monetized it.
So you just monetize all your hobbies,
All my
basically.
hobbies. I think that's what a lot of people need to realize, even when you think about investing or anything. It's like when you invest, you're supposed to invest in the things that you use every day,
And you
because
care about.
it makes sure that you pay attention to them. So when I'm investing in myself, I'm going to invest in the things that I like every single day, because there's somebody else that will like things that I like every
Yeah.
single day. If I like them,
Yeah.
right? There's somebody who will. Right. And if you think about it like that, you'll never not have something to do. All of my hobbies, from paintings, from acting, from modeling, are all things that I remember me saying that I wanted to do when I was a kid. And then me as an adult saying, I'm not going to let anybody stop me from doing it.
Yeah.
To where even when you think about the people who are your biggest doubters when you are building an actual business, aren't random people. It's people that actually know you. It's people who knew you from high school. They'll be like, man, I knew you when you were goofy and that.
Yeah.
Hey, it's people it's your family. He's like, man, you should go get a job. Like, why are you still doing that? Like, seriously, that's people. Why are you still doing that? Why are you putting it's like, you just don't know what it is because you're not supporting me that way.
Yeah.
Right. And that's also a part of entrepreneurship. You have to learn how to support yourself in times where other people aren't supporting you. And when I prioritize what I do, and that's that switching between left and the right brain. It's almost like, in order for me to pick myself up, I'll be creative.
Yeah.
That's me creating.
So that's how you regenerate, is you go get in your
creative bag. Where I'm like, okay, when I make some music, it's because I need to re-energize this business.
Okay.
When I'm painting, it's because I really need to re-energize, and I just happen to be able to sell the paintings because they're good, right?
So you sell paintings too.
Paintings.
And what's the name of your painting company?
Well, it's an alias. Where I've sold a lot of paintings.
We're not gonna tell. So here's my thing, right? With your app, right? And we see you now, and I'm watching all the things you're doing, right? And you're doing a great job. And I always see you posting on LinkedIn, like, about all of the new wins that your company is having. Where we see the 40 Acres app now is not where it started, right? It probably started in a notebook or in your notes app, like you said. So what was that journey like, seeing it through to where it is now? Because the thing is, when you start and all you have is the idea, and you have this plan to someday be this billion-dollar company, it's like, okay, how do I get there, right? So what was that journey like moving through those different phases? And I mean, how did you even stay motivated to not quit? Like, yo, I got a drawing. Like, come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Truth. And you see my face, right?
Yeah, you remember those days?
The journey in anything purposeful is always going to be a lonely one.
Yeah.
To where I think I had to accept that too, is that not everybody gets the vision that God gives you. Right? And the thing that should keep you going is the fact that God gave it to you.
Yeah.
Right. So I think discipline and understanding that I knew that all of the things that I learned were meant for me to do that. And knowing that I knew cybersecurity when I first started really working on the idea, I was with my oldest brother, Zachary. And we were staying up late nights on the computer. I was pitching it to my parents. Like, does this make sense? X, Y, and Z. Like, I put together, I'm working at McAfee or Intuit at the time, and I put together PowerPoints about it, all these different things, to where I could walk myself through pitching it to somebody.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, does this item make sense? To where I got it so good to where people started saying, yeah, Daniel, that makes sense, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
To where it started at a long time ago, but then during the pandemic, this is when it really got serious. During the pandemic, when I realized, all right, it's me, my brother. I know there's gonna be some ups and downs about it, because then my parents were like, Daniel, y'all probably shouldn't work together, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, working with family is crazy. I've learned that that's really not a good idea, but maybe it worked for you.
No, and I love working with my brother. I love my brother, right? To where I don't mind working with my brother. I think also when you're a visionary, you can be rough on people, right? When you hear about people like Steve Jobs that created something that's never been created before, when you hear about Kanye West or even Jeff Bezos even, right? Where his company was negative profit before they actually started making money.
Yeah.
Not everybody built for that, right? So when you actually start a business, you actually start to find out what people are made of, right? Because it's a spiritual journey. to where if you're not in tune with your purpose, you're going to be spinning your wheels on something that you should probably stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, to where the thing that kept me going, the journey itself, is something that God told me to do. To where I'm like, okay, I know that God, so where he gave, like, in the Bible, it talks about waking people at men waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning, or the midnight hour being a time where God talks to you most, right?
Yeah.
And I think I had a lot of those moments where I'm like, man, I'm done with that idea. I ain't gonna think about it no more. And God kept putting it on my head. There's times where me and my brother weren't seeing eye to eye, to where he might have left the business or something like that, and I started working on it by myself. I'm like, it's God giving to me. It's gonna move forward regardless. It's got to move forward to where that's what, not even just what kept me motivated. It's me realizing that it was a vision that was only for me. It's like, man, if you're bringing something that never existed before to the forefront of somebody's mind, you have to be the person that's able to deliver it. And when you're building a business, the journey is more so for you than it even is for the person that's going to be using what you created.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Because it's molding you not to provide somebody with a service, it's molding you into the person that deserves to give somebody that. And I think that's what my journey has taught me over the last couple of years, because it was rough. It's been rough. I'm not gonna lie. It's ups and downs, but it's kind of one of those things where if it's purposeful, you'll never stop doing it. If it's purposeful, it'll always be on your mind.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm here.
And it stayed with you.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to shake it and be like, look, I'm gonna just go back to corporate?
I have.
Aww.
And I can't shake it. If you want to start your own business, expect up and downs.
Yeah.
Nothing ever in investing in yourself, selling something, producing something that has a yield. Anything that has a yield.
Yeah.
Right? Growing food, crops, right? Any of that stuff is always going to be like this. That's why the stock market looks like that. It's because you're a stock.
Yeah.
If you're providing somebody with a service, you're the asset that needs to be tracked. You're going to have your good days, your bad days, and that's going to affect your profitability, right? If you're up, it's going to make you profitable. If you're down and people see that, people are going to be like, I don't know, I want to put some money into that guy. That guy look like you're the stock, you're the asset, you're the investment for your business. And there's days where I told you I'm in my founder's bag, where I'll have the fro messed up, and you see me where the fro, the beard,
like a mad scientist,
and you go mad scientist mode.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to be like that. But when you start talking about money, there's a way that you also have to present yourself to people too. And it's like, man, there's two versions of every CEO. There's two versions of every business owner. And it's a moment where you have to grind. And then there's moments where you have to shine. And those are also up and down moments that you have to be able to visibly recognize, if that makes sense.
So what do you think, now that you've been doing this for many years, what do you think you didn't know coming into it that you wish you would have known about being a founder?
I wish I would have known more about how people would treat you when you become a founder. Why? Because there's going to be people who love what you do, and then there's people who are going to doubt every aspect of what you do until it's done. Right?
Yeah.
To where that goes, and that goes across every industry that you'll be introduced to as a founder too. There's always going to be somebody who doubts you. There's always going to be somebody who says that won't work. And once it does, those same people are going to come back and be like,
oh my God,
it worked. But that's also the sweet thing about it too. Which is like a crazy thing, right? The same people who doubted it working are going to be the main people using the solution that you provide. And you want to be able to have those people that doubted you, and you prove them wrong, because the people who, and this is my journey where I learned, right? The people who told me no the most often help me the most too.
By their no, it helps you.
It helps me.
Because you get more creative.
You get more creative, but also your no is how you get yes. If you never, it's like a math problem, right?
Yeah.
The more no's I get, no, I don't like it because of this. No, I don't like this because of this. And I keep going even to that same person. You don't like it because of this? All right, let me change it. You don't like it because of this? Now I found a reason why you like it, right? Your no's is a formula for your yes.
Mm,
And that's in life.
I love
If
that.
somebody tells you no
Mm-hmm.
and you immediately shut down and get rejected and you get in your feelings about
And
you getting a
cry.
no and cry about you getting a no, you'll never know how to get your yes in life.
Yeah.
In life.
Yeah.
If I've always been a person that's been down, I've had trouble in my life, I haven't been able to make it, I didn't have the most money in my pocket or whatever, and people are always telling me no. If I gave up every time somebody was like, no, no, no,
Mm-hmm.
I would never see yes in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see yes in your lifetime. So when you get those no's, if you really are passionate about something, keep going. Keep getting the no's. Because then if you formulate it right, it's going to build a whole thing for somebody that's yes, 100% yes.
Yeah.
Right? 100% yes for you specifically because you're unique and you solved my problem specifically because you kept hearing me say no. And I told you all my problems and you heard me enough to go back to the lab and give me something that actually told me, that gave me the ability to tell you yes. And
Yeah.
that people appreciate you more when you give them something that's super focused on their reasons why they're telling you no too.
Yeah.
Even when you think about selling cars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I go to a car lot, somebody's not going to sell me a car at a car lot that I didn't ask for. They're gonna, hey, why don't you like this? Why do you like this?
Yeah.
Hey, do you like heated seats? No, I don't need no heated seats. Hey, do you like new tires, your new rims on your car? No, I don't really like that. They say, okay, here's a beater.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I like all these different fancy things. Do you want it to be a Mercedes or you want fancy stuff like a Honda Zero? Right?
Yeah.
Those are the pathways to get your yes. You gotta know what you're looking for, and know who to talk to get no's. Your no's are more in founderhood.
Founderhood. That's what we're gonna call it. Founderhood. Yes.
Your no's are more valuable than your yeses.
Okay.
Because you'll get in founderhood.
Yeah.
You only need one yes.
You only need one yes.
You only need one.
So now, what have you set up for yourself to kind of like know when you're hitting a new benchmark? Because when we think of like a startup and being a founder, right, there's 0, there's 1 billion. How do you create like benchmarks of success within that? You know, is it like, all right, once I hit this amount, now I'm happy, now I'm satisfied? Or like, are you just holding your breath to that big one?
I put milestones, but I'm also like the go for the big type guy.
Yeah, you waiting for the big one?
I'm serious. I like
You waiting for that Forbes article. Okay, we got it.
That's the one I'm waiting on.
You waiting for that Forbes. Got it.
But no, it's setting up milestones. My milestone, like I told you, every year by my birthday, I have something that I'll accomplish.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always have to be monetary.
Yeah.
But in terms of my business, that's just a couple of quarters where I think of everything like a football game where even if I'm investing or anything, I'm thinking of it in 4 quarters.
Yeah.
A year is 4 quarters.
Yeah.
A football game is 4 quarters. When you're progressing towards any goal, you have a game of inches. I'm gonna try to get a first down, or I'm gonna try to get a second down. Hey, I'm gonna throw a touchdown this pass. Right? What I realize is that you're not always gonna throw the touchdowns. I'm not gonna always get that big one-time moment. You have to break it up into milestones to where if you think about success like a football game, you're gonna go practice on the things that give you the first yards. And then you're gonna play the game as if you're throwing touchdowns. Right? The game of inches is to gauge my opponent.
Yeah.
When I'm ready to score, it's because I'm really ready to score. Right?
So you gotta play the long game sometimes.
Most times. A lot of people hurt themselves because they're not into the long game.
Yeah.
A lot of people nowadays are into instant gratification. Right? Where I just told you to where a lot of people don't know. Everything I'm doing right now has been in the works for years.
Yeah.
Everybody thought I was a football player, right?
But we know you had a backup.
A backup
plan.
But when you think about that, some people who don't know me, that's like, oh, he's the football player guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And it's one of those things where you have to know your why. You have to keep going. But if it's a game of inches, you will always get there because the game of inches started 10 years ago. I didn't just throw a touchdown to get to 40 acres.
Yeah. So it was a journey. It was a lot of reiterations. It was, I mean, did you even come up with the name 10 years ago or see?
When I first started 40 acres was not what do we call it? We called it Grow Fund Me.
Oh, that's cute.
Grow
I'm
Fund
gonna
Me.
use that.
Yeah.
Is that been used yet?
They actually GoFundMe actually sent us a cease and desist.
Ooh. Yeah, you got there.
They
You
sent us a cease and desist. Real talk.
You got there,
Real
dang.
talk. They sent it to us because we
That was a cute name. I know why you came up with that because that's really
GoFundMe
catchy.
was cool. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it gave it was a good name because it played into every aspect of growing wealth, and even with the yield aspect, it just played really well with the
Yeah.
financial aspect, right? But now that it's 40 acres, it's even more of a big thing in my eyes. Why?
Mhm.
Because it ties directly to what it's meant for, empowering my community.
Yeah.
But then a lot of people don't. When you hear 40 acres, most people gonna think land,
Mhm.
40 acres and a mule.
Yeah,
Right?
that's exactly what I thought.
That's what I want you to think.
Yeah.
That's what I want you to think. But it
Mhm.
also is a future technology built into the name,
Mm.
right? And that's 4.0,
Mhm.
right? A lot of people see the 40 and don't realize there's a point in between.
Ah.
Yeah. So it's 40 acres, but it also means 4.0 technology,
Mhm.
right? Where you have internet 3, web 3, you have
Yeah.
web 2, right? You have industry, real estate 2.0,
Mhm.
right? All of those things converge into technology 4.0.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why the name is what it is. It's a double entendre. 40 acres and a mule because it's meant for my community. And it plays
Literally
in,
the 40 acres.
and then it plays into the fourth industrial revolution.
So this is what I'm gaining is that this is really not a quick, hey, I think I have an idea, let me jump. You really need to take your time, think about it. For someone who's thinking like, maybe I can do a startup. How do you know when it's time to pivot and maybe leave what you're doing full time and go full on into your idea?
When do you want to know when you should leave your job and go?
Essentially, yeah. When these people quit, there you tell them.
Man, you should, when you have and it's not always even about money. There's times where you'll start your business and you won't know when it's time. But I always say that you should have a couple of months of saved up to be able to like fully jump into your business and try to give yourself 6 months to ramp up. If you can't cover 6 months of your expenses to ramp up your business, you probably shouldn't leave, for one. And I'll say that for people who've never started a business before.
Yeah.
But you'll know when it's time for you to leave your business because your business will become more important to you than your job.
I like the fact that you say important because I think there's really an emphasis on like, well, you can't leave until your business is also at 6 figures. And it's like, sometimes you need to invest, your energy, and sometimes you don't have that energy to invest because you're in your job. So it's like, when you say important, yeah, what do you want? How do you feel? How important is your work to you? That's when you know.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things where if you take a risk, God's not gonna let you fall on your face. A lot of people are scared of risk, but oftentimes the risk is what gets you to the success.
Yeah.
Right? You cannot have success without risk, man. So where even with that, it's like some people be so scared of leaving a 9 to 5 that they'll never start their business.
Yeah.
They'll never be able to say, man, I actually went and tried that because they're so focused on, hey, I need to have health insurance. Hey, I need to have this. Hey, I need to. And it's like, yeah, you do need to have those things. But if you ever want to break out of that moment and really be your own person, really start your own business, you'll have to take a leap of faith. And a leap of faith isn't just about faith, it's about risk.
Yeah.
A leap of faith is saying, man, I'm gonna take this step even though I don't know what's next. And that's risky.
Yeah.
And you gotta be,
especially in this economy.
In this economy, but you still gotta do it.
You still gotta do it.
But even in this economy, when stuff is falling, that's when the millionaires are made. A lot of people think that millionaires are made when the stock market's all the way up here. That's not true.
Right. Now is the time.
The millionaires are made when the stock market hits zero. And people who were wanting to figure out a way to get out actually decide, all right, this is my moment.
Yeah.
Right. Or paying attention enough to be like, man, I see it going down. Instead of me going down with it, I'm gonna take my stuff out and then set it up on top of the burning ground. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the person who embraces the risk in that way is always going to win. And this economy is nothing. It's nothing that we haven't seen before, where people are sitting here talking about Trump and all this other stuff. It's like, man, the U.S. economy has been bad in general. It's not something that we just change every 4 years, every 8 years, and act like it's something that we're not discussing back and forth between all sides.
Yeah.
There's a problem with how things are done, right? So that shouldn't scare you, especially if you're providing something that the world needs, right? Think about that.
Yeah.
It's right when I even think about my business, I came up with so many different ideas, but I always known that this idea was my highest and best use of my time. To where I knew when I went through all of my Rolodex of all of my ideas, I'm like, what business would be worth me quitting my job for? Me starting my suit company wasn't worth me quitting my job for. Why? Because I could automate that.
So you knew.
Right. Yeah. Me starting playing football wasn't enough. Like me rapping, me making music, me painting, that's not enough for me to quit my job. Me wanting to travel, all of these different things aren't me doing real estate. That's a part-time. All these things were not enough for me to quit my job because I was making money in my job. And this is just like an extra thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
But when you're going into something that you really are giving people, it requires you. Because then there's no way people are going to actually accept it if you can't put you into it. Because when you're doing business, people want to do business with good people.
Yeah.
People want to buy a solution from good people. People want to know that the person that created that solution is a dope person. They can never fully know you if you have a day job while you're starting a business. There's no way. There's no way that you can put all of your effort and energy into perfecting your business if you have a job. And that's a fact.
Okay, so y'all, Daniel just told y'all to quit. In a nutshell.
Quit when you know. Quit when you know that your idea is not going to stop because of money. Let that be the one that you take.
Amen.
If money stops you from working on your business, you're not supposed to run your own business. You should be able to do your business without money. That's how you know you should quit your job. If you can do it without being paid, you could be on your last dollar and you know that you will never stop working on your business. That's when you should quit your job. If you can't do that, then you shouldn't. You should.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah, I get you 100%.
You know?
Yeah, it makes sense. In your journey, right, what are some tools or resources that have helped you to get to where you are? Like books, programs, anything you've done that you can recommend for someone getting started?
Oh, well, I'll recommend my book.
Of course, because I've start there.
Written the books, but I got a lot of those different knowledge, the knowledge bases from just over the years, right? Of me educating myself. I'm a student, right? A researcher, to where if I fix my brain on something, I'm going to research it to the end of it.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. But some of the resources that have been valuable to me is networking, because you never know who knows who. You're always 6 degrees of separation from a billionaire, a millionaire, or someone who's willing to invest in you.
Yeah.
My resources have been God. My resources have been always, if I have an interest, I'm going to read. And that's a lost art where a lot of people like to hear their information from someone else. I think comprehension is a lost art where a lot of people understand what you're talking about. A lot of people understand things, but there's a slight difference between understanding something and comprehending something.
Yeah.
Because comprehension is a working knowledge of it. It means I've read something and I have the ability to actively do it after reading it.
Yeah.
After hearing it, I have the ability to actively do that thing, right? Yeah. So the tools that I just keep close to me is always writing things down. Journaling whenever I have a meeting, because then I can track my thoughts, right? People lose ideas. People can't track their thoughts in a linear space. The great thing that's now is you have AI. You have all these different things that help you track your information if you just know how to ask the right question. Yeah. Right? To where starting a business now should be easy for everybody. Yeah. Because now you have the ability to put your idea into a database and track and question even your own thought process surrounding that. Yeah. It's like I wanna question myself with somebody else and they're not readily available. Now I can build an entire business by questioning something like another person. Yeah. To help me build my idea. Right. And I think that's been a resource recently to help me out. But I don't know, tools for me, I'm one of those guys, I pull tools from everywhere. Like I'm a people person. I'm kind of like a book person. I'm a internet searcher. I'm gonna go back and talk to people that I remember saying this in the past.
Yeah.
Right. I'm a sphere of influence type of person. I don't know. Like even people resources. I know so many people from football or from entertainment industry to where if I actually need the resources, and I don't just use my resources just because, right?
Yeah, you have relationships.
But you have relationships where if you are good people and you're doing good things, good business, you should always have somebody that you can call, right? That you should be able to say, hey, I need this done. Can you help me with that? Especially people who know you're on your entrepreneurial journey. One thing I'll say is when you start off as a realtor, people tell you, man, it's hard for you to start off as a realtor. You need 6 months to ramp up, right? Why? It's because you have to build your network. How you build your network is you go into your own phone and you start telling people, hey, I'm a realtor now.
Yeah.
Same process, right?
Hey, I'm an entrepreneur now.
I'm an entrepreneur now.
Hey, I'm a founder.
I'm a founder now. I started my own business.
Yeah.
I want you to know about it because then your people that know you are going to be the first people telling somebody else that you do that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what you want is 2 or 3 of your close friends, 2, 3 of your close family members, 2, 3 people that are in your circle to say, okay, yeah, that person is doing something different and I should be excited about it. So whenever I see them talk about it or post about it, they were excited enough to tell me about it. So I'm going to be an additional tool or resource to them
to elevate
that resource. It's saying, all right, whenever somebody comes across my table, I'm going to send them to you.
Yeah.
Because I know that you were excited about it, because you told me about your idea. And I would say that is a big resource to me, right? Is that I'm never afraid to tell somebody what I'm doing, right?
I like that because sometimes there is this tendency to kind of keep what you're doing under wraps because, hey, GrowFundMe, you don't want nobody to take it or steal it or sue you.
They gonna sue y'all if y'all try to steal that. Y'all heard that name? That's already on that. I registered that too.
Because if he can't have it, I'm taking it. That's what I want you to.
Y'all can't steal it. I own the rights to that. Just FYI.
Fine. You're not gonna steal GrowFundMe. It's fine. In wrapping up, Daniel, this has been a great conversation. First off, I'm so happy we did this.
Yeah, pleasure.
Overall, now being in your founder journey, are you finding that you are satisfied and content? Are you finding fulfillment in just the everyday of what you're doing, right? Because obviously, like we talked about, there's that big mountain that, founders want to get to on one of my billions, right? But just in the day to day, you know how we say like the journey is the destination. Are you enjoying the journey? Are you enjoying the ride now? And is this filling your cup?
Yeah, I think this is the thing that I could do without money. Because it's my passion, it's my purpose. It ties into my people, it ties into helping people, and it really ties into changing the world, right? Literally.
Yeah.
To where whenever I think about my journey, I think about being content in all things, right?
Yeah.
When you think about the mountain being so big and being like, man, this mountain is so huge and I gotta cross this mountain or climb this mountain. It's like, man, you can only climb this so far each day.
Yeah.
And you have to be content with that. And knowing that, right? To where even when I talk about the ebbs and flows of a stock market, that's how a founder's journey is. And founders that actually can be like this through it all are the ones that's going to catch it when it goes down, and they're going to catch it when it goes back up. That's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Right? To where for me, I've learned to be content in all things. And I think the Bible even says that, right? It says, be content in all things, right? Because you don't know when your breakthrough is coming.
Yeah.
And sometimes your breakthrough can come at the worst time in your life.
Yeah.
Your breakthrough most times feels like it's coming at the best time of your life, but sometimes you're on the down spiral when you don't even know it.
Yeah.
Right? To where being content keeps you from falling really low. Being content keeps you from being way too high.
Yeah.
Because then that fall is going to be so crazy.
Yeah.
When it does happen, you know what I mean?
You got to stay humble.
You got to stay humble.
Yeah.
And sometimes in entrepreneurship, you got to be cocky too, though. Right? Yeah. And you got to know when to even do that. And people are probably online be like, man, this dude just does all this. And that's my perception. People probably think I'm cocky, right? Because I do a lot of stuff, right? But I think a part of that is even knowing like, hey, that's That's virtual. That's like internet stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you know who you are, you're gonna be content anyways because you're living on purpose. It's like, man, I'm gonna be content because shoot, God provided me this opportunity. It's like,
Yeah.
man, I have this opportunity to do something that nobody else is doing. I'm gonna appreciate it, whether I
Yeah.
have money or not, whether I'm up happy or not, whether I'm sad or not. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
content because why? I'm doing something purposeful,
Mm.
right? And when you're
Yeah.
doing something purposeful, it's gonna keep you on those days where man, I'm tired and I can't get out of bed, man. It's
Yeah.
you're gonna be excited about doing it because why? It's part of your purpose.
Part of your purpose. See,
Part of your
Daniel,
purpose.
it all comes back to one thing, and that's what I love. Because I mean, I think we all know, and we all probably feel it in our hearts. Like, yes, we have to live by purpose. There's really no other way to do it, because it's how you keep from being exhausted. It's how you keep from being lost, and it's really how you find fulfillment.
Yeah.
So, seems like the things you've highlighted are living in your purpose,
Living your purpose.
playing the long game, and being patient, using your resources. And anything else I'm leaving out?
No, that's pretty much it. And I want to say keep God first, and I
Keep
say it
God
again.
first. But that's always
'Cause
number one. Always number one.
because and I say that number one, why is because it's a spiritual journey
Mm-hmm.
going through the unknown
Yeah.
and having faith in things that you cannot see yet
Mm.
is something only God can give you. And it almost made me want to tear up even saying that to you
Yeah,
guys
good.
because genuinely, it's a journey. Like to where if you're actually doing what God is calling you to do, God is going to always take care of you.
Mm.
And I will say that 100%, guys.
Wow.
So don't be scared to start your entrepreneurship journey. Why? Is because if you are getting that vision to start something, go do it.
Amen.
They even said Noah was crazy for building the ark until there was only
Until it
two of
started
everything
raining.
on the boat, and everybody else couldn't get on. It
Yeah.
was like, man, I thought he was crazy, but then I ain't on that boat with him either. Now,
No one
right?
knew something.
Noah knew something,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes you're gonna know something before everybody else does. And if you trust yourself and trust the message that God has given you, and you're purposeful, shoot, you're gonna be exactly where you're supposed to be 10 years from now, 5 years from now, even when your journey doesn't look like it, even when it looks like it's unsure, when it looks like it's unknown, you're still gonna be on that journey if you just trust it. And a lot of times you're gonna hear God too. And I'm gonna say that too, where a lot of people think you're gonna hear God from like a booming voice in the sky. And that's not how God talks to you. God's gonna talk to you in the most familiar voice that you know. And oftentimes it's your own. Why? It's because God is going to put on your heart, right, what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that takes you putting away a lot of distractions. And that's what entrepreneurship is going to teach you too. It's like in order for you to run a business and keep your mind focused on what you got to do throughout the day, you got to put away those distractions.
Yeah.
And when you put away those distractions, oftentimes you hear exactly what you're supposed to be doing. You're going to hear exactly who you should and should not be interacting with. It's like, man, that person's not good for my business. They're trying to steal something, or they're trying to hurt me, or they ain't trying to doubt. You're going to have a spirit of discernment. And that discernment should tell you, hey, only focus on the people who actually understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because those people are always going to take you to the next level. That's also what I'll say.
Yeah. Woo. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I appreciate and hear all of that. And I love speaking to creators in all different forms, or artists in all different forms, because you're right. Like taking something from your mind and creating it in the world is such a spiritual thing. And it really, really is a lonely journey because no one else can see what you're seeing. And you really do have to stick it through. And so I love what you said. I'm going to take those words for me and anybody else and everybody else who hears this after me. You can take this and apply it to yourself as well. And I know that we've all learned so much from you today. So thank you really so much for sitting down with me. I know you're busy. You got a lot to do, but
all the time we're for you.
Yeah.
Castech fam.
Castech love, y'all. It's still strong.
Knowing each other since we was kids.
Yes.
No issue.
Thank you, Daniel.
Anything for you. Yeah.
Okay, so if you are interested in learning more about any of the things that Daniel has mentioned today, I'm going to be linking all of his ventures in the description box. It's a lot of them. You love the fashion today. This is Eastwood Customs, so that'll be linked. We talked about the 40 Acres app today. You can learn more about We Can Be, which is also Daniel's organization. And all of it, nonprofit, yes, and all of his other ventures. Those will be linked in the description box. So if you have any questions, don't ask me questions, y'all, I don't got it. But mention him. I'm gonna link his Instagram, y'all. Mention him.
Have any questions, I got you.
Yes, okay. So thank you so much. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Grad Connect, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Be blessed, guys.